So we just talked about this to come back to it, to make it clearer another time, and to show off with a little bit of Latin. It's conditio sine qua non. It's the condition without something else cannot happen. And it is about the commodities, where this is another way of explaining it. If you go back to the definition, the first thing, it has to be outside, meaning whichever organ I can sell, it's inside. It's not a commodity. I can take it out. Well, I can't. A doctor can take it out. So it's potentially, it's outside there. You have to make sure that it's properly done, but then you may find somebody who is interested in it, so, and who needs it. So you have the second step. It has to be outside, and it has to have some use value. And then you have the third one. It has to be labor put into it, meaning the doctor or whatever who does it takes the organ out, meaning it's not part of my body anymore, it's outside of us. It exists, the labor had been put into it, and somebody wants to buy it. Somebody has use for it. So you see the definitions, and of course this is the extreme. Usually you have products where this is much easier to explain. You produce something that have never been inside of you. You have the same with air. Air is outside, but it's not a product. It's not a commodity. But I can sell clean air. For instance, oxygen for hospitals. It's not the air I put into a bag, but I purify it, bottle it into special bottles, and then this is the labor part, and then I sell it. I need still the hospital to buy it. So it's another good example of how to work with this definition, with this concept of commodity. It is about commodities. If it's not about commodity, we as economists are not really interested in it. We may be interested to think about how can we make a commodity out of it. This was actually just happening when I thought about how can I make clear that air is not a commodity but can be a commodity. So we think, yeah, it's not a commodity, but actually I can make a commodity out of it. Concentration and centralization of capital. As I said, originally the point is, in a way, using an act of violence, appropriating something, putting a fence up, enclosure, and say, this is mine. You are not allowed to use it. And if you take this example of farmland, if I'm the first one, I get the fertile soil here. It's a better soil, and it is in a better position, location. It's easy farming here, which makes me rich in a way. I can have the same amount or even larger amount of farmland here, but it is exposed to other climate conditions. Heavy rain will wash the ground away, will wash the soil away. It's difficult to work here. If you ever have been cutting grass on a mountainside, you will know. Here you can use machines. Here you probably today you can, but this was a later development of machines. So if I have here this ground, I can push you out of competition And with this, I get more soil, and I put more people out of competition, and at some stage I simply own more. And what I said comes only now to my mind was actually pretty clever in terms of saying, actually they own more and more land, better land, soil, but at the same time they get into other business. At some stage it's only about farming. At a later stage, they build a hotel. There is no connection between farming and hotel. Okay, you may have a connection, but you say, in the hotel I have a restaurant and I offer my own stuff which I have been growing on the farm. So there is some kind of connection, but at some stage I'm so rich, as our little Mexican farmer or fisherman, at some stage he is so rich that he buys ships, a fleet, and he buys possibly a company, enterprise producing computers. There is no connection. Concentration is getting more of the same. Centralization is getting more business, other different businesses into what I'm doing. It is concentration of capitals already formed, destruction of the individual independence, expropriation of capitalists by capitalists. Transformation of many small into few large capitals. This is important when we talk about competition and free markets that we will find in textbooks. They do not consider this, or they play it down, that there is this process of transformation of many small into few large capitals. Capital grows in one place to a huge mass in a single hand because it has in another place been lost by many. The battle of competition is fought by cheapening of commodities. So this is the way I'm more productive here, meaning I can sell for less. This allows me to be more competitive because you need a certain amount of money to be able to produce. We all need this. But as better the conditions are for production, as I said, here you can use modern machines. Here not. So with this I'm much cheaper and can offer my products much cheaper than I could do otherwise. The cheapness of commodities demands ceteris paribus on the productiveness of labor, meaning as well it's not only machines but it is as well labor, and this again of the scale of production. As more as I produce, as cheaper I can be. If you ask me to draw a portrait, I do this one thing for you. To make a photo of me, this is the one thing. But if I kind of technicize this process and say, actually I don't make a profile of you, I make a profile of people. It's not really you, but kind of, it's okay. Mass production. Everything there. Eyes, sorry. So this is a very simple way of explaining it, that this is done in seconds. I cannot actually make a proper profile of anybody. It's not only the time it costs to do this individually, but it is as well the qualification I need to do it. This is part of the time I spent. It's not just sitting 1 hour there and doing this job, but it is as well the 2 years I need to learn how to do it. So you have this problem of large-scale production allows to grow, to be even larger after a while. This is important, and we will come back, this is another issue, we will come back to it again and again. It is production where we start. It is the production that determines the price of things. It is not because the farmer here on the hillside is lazy, while this is very eager and productive in terms of being very energetic, but it is the conditions of production. It is not that this farmer sells products more for a higher price because he is lazy, but because the cost of production are higher here. And he has to get back the money that he needs or she needs. Here I can sell, I can produce for a lower price. This allows me to be then on the market cheaper as well. It's not because I decide subjectively, nice people, they want it, I sell it for a lower price. Cost of production is the decisive thing in the entire economy. And this is what large groups of the economists, what many schools and the mainstream schools of economists or economics got wrong and get wrong. This was a shift. You have the law of value, and the law of value is determined by the cost of production. This was David Ricardo, this was Karl Marx. Then you have, of course, a market. As Marx said, for instance, if there is no use value, if nobody can use, even for fancy, this what I produce, there is no market. And I need the market to realize the value. So the market plays a role, but a secondary role. And this is what then later economists, beginning with Adam Smith, said, of course production plays a role, but the real determination of the value is happening on the market. We will expand on this. There is an entire school on this, looking at marginality. And the marginality question is something that happens on the market in terms of exchange. It's the subjective value I'm talking now about in terms of marginality. If I have a good, the additional value of a second good of the same kind will be not as valuable as the first one. If I have one potato, I had been eating one potato, a second would be fine, but at least I have something in my stomach. So the value of the second is smaller than of the first. After eating 20 potatoes, I don't want to see a potato for the next day, at least. If I have one car and need one car as means of transport, it's very valuable. The second car is not really additionally valuable. It may be because I like on sunny days convertible, and on other days I like the closed. I want to have a SUV or a sports car. But this is the second part. First we talk about production, and then we talk about as well what is called elasticity. Go to the textbook, you find it there. Still I go into this, where elasticity is about actually the market process that plays a role in terms of determining the value. So market and production, and we have usually some color in our life, something that is supposedly a special tradition in Italy, but it is the old system, suspended coffee, caffè sospeso. You have this again in other areas, a suspended meal, a suspended book or whatsoever, and what actually happens is, in Italy we are, like our coffee, it's very important. So we go to the bar, coffee bar, and get a coffee for 60 cents, 70 cents, 80 cents or something. We get our coffee and we pay for true coffee. Not to make the bartender happy, the barrister, but because there may be somebody who doesn't have the money for a coffee. And this person, there is a way of communicating this, knows in this bar I get my coffee, caffè sospeso. I get this suspended coffee. Somebody paid for it. Somebody doesn't know me, but he knows there's somebody who cannot pay for a coffee, and he drops in and gets the coffee for free. And there is as well the trust, the honesty. I would not go, having the money, I would not go into the bar and say, free coffee, why not? I know this is there for the people who need it. It's private property. I spend my money to make you happy, basically. And then I found something which I looked for material. I wanted to publish it on Blackboard. And there you see how the market works, and there you see how alienation works. So I found something on the internet, and it was publicly available from a publisher, a chapter of a book. And I thought I want to make this available for you on Blackboard. Then I thought I'm really an honest person, sometimes I am, and I contact the publisher to ask if I may do it. So they said, no, actually it was already on the website, for copyright issues and republication, please contact the Copyright Clearance Center. They probably don't know even how a book looks like or what a book is. No, they know, but they are not dealing with books. They are dealing with copyrights. So I contacted them, wrote them what I just said, I want to use it for class and the Blackboard is a protected area. You can access it, it's not public. On the publisher's website, it is available publicly, everybody. You can go there and get this chapter. On Blackboard, you cannot. And they wanted to sell me, basically, the permission that I can publish it on Blackboard. So I only said, just sorry, forget it. I make the link available for you. It's free. It's offered by the publisher. And actually, you shouldn't exist. This is a service that is independent. That's Department 4. A typical service, they don't produce anything. They only produce confusion and profit. Sorpresa, offerta senza sorpresa. In capitalist societies, we should not be surprised that this happens. So this is why I said offerta senza sorpresa, without this little bit playing with words, the sospeso and sorpresa. This is how market capitalist societies work. Sell something, make a commodity out of something, even if there's no point in it. It is available on the internet. I shouldn't have even asked them. I should just have put the internet link on the website. So now we come, I don't know, there's a little bit confusion with the slides or something. We come to this, the two effects. The one is elasticity. Elasticity means we have a choice. And this choice is about what we call in economics elasticity. And different products have a different price elasticity, meaning the customer, now we are talking not about production but about the market, supply and demand, the customer has a choice. And the choice depends on the character of the goods and the price. The price elasticity of demand, if and when close substitutes are available, I will of course go for the cheaper product. We all have to, this is one of the fundamental ideas of this kind of economics, there is scarcity. We all want to save money. Staple goods, potatoes and rice, so-called staple goods, are a typical example. It doesn't matter, and maybe a personal preference, but it doesn't really matter if I eat potatoes or rice. It matters if I eat potatoes or vegetable or meat. This is kind of huge difference. Close substitutes means they are very similar products. If I get a very similar product for a lower price, I will go for the lower priced product. There's no reason to waste money and to spend it for something that is more expensive if I don't get any additional value. Of course, if I don't have to look up for money, I have enough, I may still prefer the more expensive good because I don't have to save money. For narrowly defined goods, then broadly defined goods. A narrowly defined goods is a sports car. A broadly defined good is a vehicle. If I say vehicle, I need a vehicle, I have choice. If I say I want a sports car, I have some choice, but limited. If I say I want to have an Italian sports car, it's even more limited. So this is broadly and narrowly defined goods. I have more choice in terms of price as well. I can react in terms of price on the market. For luxurious and for necessities, I have to spend my money for necessities. There are certain things I cannot do without. This is the rice and the potato. This is the first thing. If I'm really, I don't have much money, then I eat, it's not healthy, it's not nice, but I eat potatoes, I eat these staple goods. If I have money, I go for some fancy stuff and eat some rare vegetables, some rare fruits or whatever, luxurious. Then of course, it's going beyond this, what defines a luxurious good and what is necessary. For goods that take up a large budget share, meaning it depends on the different factors playing hand in hand, going together, but if I spend very much on one item, I can reduce this. If I spend only a small amount, there is simply not much space to reduce this even further. Then the long run and the short run orientation. If I need this today, I buy it in some way, it doesn't matter how much it costs. If I can wait until tomorrow, I have this option and wait with buying it, hoping that the price goes down, or as well that I can save the money to buy something that is more expensive. If I need it now, I can't. I don't have a choice. If I can say I'll wait until tomorrow, then I can wait. And there you see, it is depending, they are not just absolutely separate. I need something to eat today, and I don't have the choice to say, today I won't eat, but tomorrow or in 1 week, I will eat something fancy. I have to eat now. I can't postpone this. If I can postpone it, I really want this fancy jumper, but it's too expensive. I don't have the money now, but at the end of the month or early next month, I get some money, and then I can buy it. I can postpone the purchase. And then we have, again, on the market, these nice effects: snob effect, bandwagon effect, the network effect, and common law of business balance. What is this about? Now, I don't want to make advertisement, but we all like our Apple products. And they are more expensive, but everybody should have an Apple computer, so you get an Apple computer. It is something we buy simply because we are snobs. In this way, we want to have some product, some commodity that is fancy. Oh, wow, you have an Apple computer. Wow, you have an Apple phone. Wow, you have the latest version. I read the other day something in the newspaper. It was, well, we should not be surprised about this, but I think it's the iPhone 7 is now out. I thought it's only 6, but they produce, this is another thing to make money, produce just something new which doesn't really make a difference, but it has a new label on it, and then people buy it. And there was this new thing with this iPhone 7 that actually people say there is no point in buying this because it's very much the same. There is no qualitative difference to the iPhone 6. But at the same time, snob effect, it's fancy to have an iPhone 7. So what some people did, this is cleverness of thinking, what can you commodify? They sell something that makes your own old iPhone looking like an iPhone 7. I don't know, I think I never saw an iPhone 7, but there seems to be something that you can see. If you look at it, you see, right, this is the 7, this is the 6. And they make the 6 looking like a 7. You don't pay, I don't know actually what these things cost, you don't pay 600 euro or 700 euro, you pay just 50 euro. The quality, what you can do with this is the same anyway. But now you have the 50 euro you pay for the snob effect. I have the 7. It's amazing how much we spend for an Apple, simply because it's fancy. Now, it's not necessarily, and it's not only this thing, there are many products where we behave in this way. As I said, rational beings, we talked about as market participants, we are rational. And then you have another effect which shows actually how irrational we are. We want to have this special computer, this special product commodity that makes us outstanding. And then we do this. Everybody goes by private car on holidays, so I do the same. I join the crowd, and I'm not interested, all of a sudden, I'm not interested in being special anymore, but now I'm interested in being as everybody else. It doesn't really make sense. It's not rational. If I can manage, actually I go when they are gone, not during the main holiday time, but I go at another time. I have the beach for myself, not completely, but there are less people there. I can enjoy a quiet time, and I don't have to go with this crowd. But this is not what we are doing. We are behaving in a different way and trying to be part of, this is why it's about bandwagon, be part of the society. What everybody does is what we are doing as well. Then there is another effect, that's the network effect. And talking about networks, you find it in different ways, at different times as well, but it is very obvious now in this network society in terms of technology. When we talk about computers, information technology, we need the one product to be able to work with the other product. The very obvious thing is certain services that are very normal, very common today can only be used if you have a modern so-called smartphone. If you have the old-fashioned phone, you cannot use ticket booking by internet on your phone. You cannot book your taxi in advance. You cannot send your photos directly to WeChat, making the photo with a smartphone, sending it to WeChat, and getting the message. So this is a typical network effect. It's predominantly a technical effect, meaning the technology behind something determines that we have to join, or if we can join others. Without this, we cannot. Microsoft is very famous for this. And there you come back to concentration and centralization of capital. Usually, we celebrate the free market and say the market will regulate. If there is something wrong, people won't ask for it, and there is no monopoly. There is not this power developing. Now what Microsoft does, Microsoft showed exactly the opposite. They develop software, they sell the software, and if you know, I think I know a little bit or so much, Microsoft basically, what all this is about, this is the core of it, the operating system. This runs the entire computer. Now you have your, they are not sufficiently knowledgeable, you have your software packages. You have your Office. You can use Office only with this operating system. Another won't work. And you have to have, of course, the latest processor, because the other is too slow, it's too small, or whatsoever. So they say, if you buy this network, you depend on having this. And then you have something else, like the internet browser. And what Microsoft did is they developed their own browser, which was fine, they can do it. But then they linked it into this. And then you have in many countries actually special bodies, institutions that say this is competition that is not fair. You exploit, you abuse your strong position in one sector to push others literally out of this competition, out of the market. Because of course, what do I do as customer? I go for the simple solution. If these are linked, they work perfectly together, why should I go for, I don't know, Opera? It's another browser. Why should I go for Google Chrome? Why should I go for any other if I get into trouble? Why should I can use, I don't have to use the Office Microsoft packages, but why shouldn't I use it? Why should I go a different way that is more difficult? I once said, I asked to somebody who knows about this, I said, I don't like to use it, but I don't see another way. Because there is Linux, there are different packages that are cheaper, that are not controlled by Microsoft, and. At least at that stage, somebody said, you're right. If you work with the alternative software, you still need Microsoft and you have to run both systems on the computer. If you are good in it, if you are working on your own, you can do it, but networked, you can't. This was a long time something actually for users of Apple computers who said, sending a file, sharing a file with somebody else, I have difficulties. They are not compatible. So I use Microsoft. Until Microsoft actually didn't take over Apple, but you find now on Apple computers, you find all Microsoft programs, software, and it's compatible. Networked. It's a technical, socio-technical aspect, and it works in terms of concentration, centralization of the software. The last one is the common law of business balance. You get what you pay for. If you have a huge amount of money, you buy huge products, and you buy them in terms of what is fancy, not necessarily of what you use. And of course, you get, in a way, you get a better product. But if they are better in terms of what you use and what you need is another question. It's this funny thing, and in a way it's a paradox. Now, these cars, they don't exist anymore, but for instance, the Smart. Small car, it doesn't matter, you can park this way, you can park this way, it's as long as wide. They are very handy for the city. If you look around, how many cars do you see of this Smart? A small number. Even if now other companies offer the same in terms of size, small, handy, easy to use, what you see mainly is these SUVs, which are not really made for the city. Since yesterday, actually, I know what it stands for. It's Sports Utility Vehicle. I can understand it. If you are going to the forest and you are fishing and whatsoever, you have all your gears there, just put it in there. You are driving in areas that are difficult to handle. You wouldn't be able to drive a Smart or one of these. They would be lost in a pothole. There, an SUV may be good, something reasonable to use. But this is not fancy, even if it is more practical. And This is the process of production then. You invest more in the production of what can be sold, produce the SUVs for everybody, and then they are getting cheaper, mass production, and even more people buy them. This is then where you see production and market going hand in hand. If you go back in history, what is called today SUV was something that was looked at in a kind of negative way. This is a farmer. He doesn't have a proper car to go into the city. He uses what he uses on the farmland. It's a better, I have had one actually. I always said it's my rally tractor. They are fast. I needed it. I was living in the countryside, so it was at least very handy. I hated to go into the city with it. They are not built for the city. But for the countryside they are. If you need four-wheel drive, you need four-wheel drive. You are stuck without it. But in the city you don't need it. But these cars, these SUVs, they are very comfortable. You sit in them. You have the impression you are sitting in a limousine, but you are not. You are polluting the environment by using something that is good on the market but not good for use.